It is 6 o'clock. I'm calling the meeting to order. I acknowledge that the District of Tofino operates within the territory of the Tla-o-qui-aht First Nation, Tla-o-qui-aht Notice to attendees that the meeting is being video recorded and will be published on the District of Tofino's YouTube channel. Notice to virtual attendees to sign up for public comment question period using the Q&A function in Zoom. To register, participants are required to enter their full name, residential address, and the agenda item they wish to speak to. If there are no objections through unanimous consent, I move that pursuant to section 11.1 of the District of Tofino Meeting Procedure Bylaw number 1229/2016, the temporary facility provided for the public to watch and hear the September 10, 2024 regular council meeting is to be held in the multi-purpose room at the Tofino Community Hall located at 351 Arnett Road in Tofino, BC, and that the meeting is to be held electronically via Zoom and live broadcasted via the District of Tofino's YouTube channel. Seeing no objection, motion is carried. Also through unanimous consent, if there are no objections, I move that the September 10, 2024 regular council meeting agenda be adopted. Seeing no objection, that motion is carried. Moving on to the consent agenda. Also through unanimous consent, if there are no objections, I move that item 4.1 to 4.3 of the consent agenda on the regular council meeting held September 10, 2024 be approved and received. Seeing no objections from council, that motion is carried. Mayor's report. Just a comment, this summer is winding down and we've had a lot of projects, a lot of successful projects, a lot of work. I know it's been a very busy time. I do want to extend my condolences to houses for their significant losses and community trauma lately. Public comment on agenda item.
Thank you, Mayor Law. I will now make an open call for comments to both members of the public present in the gallery and those attending online. For those in the gallery who wish to speak, please raise your hand. If there is anyone attending online via Zoom that would like to make a comment, you can do so now using the Q&A function. Before making a comment, you will need to state your name, your address, and the agenda item you are speaking to. I will now do a call, calling once, calling twice, calling 3 times. There are no comments.
Thank you, Mr. Pelcher. Moving on to correspondence, 8.1, we have Ms. Gervais regarding highway concern, and I have asked staff to just give us a little comments on how we do respond to concerns from the public regarding Ministry of Transportation infrastructure.
Through the chair, I think both Director of Infrastructure and Public Works and I can speak to this. Staff works very closely with Modi on the highway right-of-way that runs through Tofino. A number of crosswalks have been installed, and I think that has been through the efforts of staff working with Modi staff on hearing from the community and trying to action those. I think we can certainly address these these concerns around crosswalks and what improvements may be able to be made. But it's important to remember that the highway is Modi jurisdiction and that they have their own standards and policies that they need to adhere to around infrastructure on the right of way as well. I don't know if there's anything more to add.
Yeah, just a quick add. When we get these types of emails and letters, we usually immediately talk to our voting representatives to let them know of the issues and make sure that if there's anything that can be addressed, they're aware of it. And it's able to they can work through their own processes to address those. We've been working closely with them for well over a decade to try to reduce speed limits and improve safety along that road. But it's one of those cross-jurisdictional concerns, and it takes a little bit of time.
Great. And just a question for clarity from staff, you do meet quite often with Moti. How often do you guys meet?
There's regularly scheduled, certainly annual meetings, but I think at a staff level, we meet quite frequently. Informally, something like this, a phone call, a Teams meeting is pretty easy to set up fairly quickly.
Great. And just for future, and I know that you've already reached out to Moti on this, but in the future, how should the public, in your mind, bring forward concerns about highway safety, but also safety in the Ministry of Transportation jurisdiction?
Thank you for the question. Letters to staff, letters to the district are really helpful. What we don't often see is, sort of a rule on social media. We're not necessarily following that. So reaching out to staff or to council members directly, I think is
Super. Thank you very much. Just comments from council, questions for staff?
Yeah, just maybe a quick one, April, in terms of, thank you. Quick, in terms of the concerns that were raised, and that's my neighborhood, as you know, we've worked on that particular spot over the years. How, in terms of Modi's response, to be able to have some clarity to council and maybe to the letter writers and the concerned citizens in that particular, how would we be able to forward the information that we know that Modi's been told? And is there a request through Modi to maybe respond back if there's any potential mitigation or maybe whatever course of action?
Yeah, I'll try and answer that the best that I can. We certainly, staff can report back informally to council to let them know, and you can speak with your constituents about what you've heard. It's not typical that we would publish, a response from Modi in the paper or anything like that, or on Talk to Tofino. But certainly we can follow up with a letter writer and let them know, how those discussions with Modi went and sort of what action may or may not be taken.
Thank you.
So, any other questions for clarity for staff? Seeing none, okay, we'll move on to 8.2, Union of British Columbia Municipalities regarding Canada Community Building Fund, First Community Works Fund. Comments from council. Great work from staff. Love to see the grants come in. Okay, moving on to 8.3, Tla-o-qui-aht action regarding wastewater treatment plants. I do believe we have a information presentation from staff. Do we?
Thank you for that. So I believe that either yourself or Mr. Kirkland is going to.
We can speak to.
We can speak to it for sure. We don't have a presentation.
Not a presentation, but I should say I'm looking to staff for maybe a little more what they found out regarding this. Inquiry.
So through the chair, we did provide a response to Mr. Lewis from Tla-o-qui-aht Action. There are, in the industry-wide, there are mitigation measures that will occur through the treatment process that the District of Tofino has with the new wastewater treatment plant. Can't guarantee that's 100% kill rate of the PRV virus. In the IFAS process, there's a wide range, which could include kind of some subjectivity. This is all kind of based on like papers from PhDs and experts in the wastewater treatment realm. So mitigation through the IFAS technology can be as low as 30%, as high as 99%, so wide range, super subjective. But by having UV disinfection at the end of the secondary treatment train of the process, the kill rate's somewhere between 90 and 99%. So we think we're doing pretty good there. I did provide or staff did provide a response to Mr. Lewis, and I think they were thankful for the response. Okay. And if there was any further questions, they were going to get back to us, and definitely open to having further dialogue to chat about it.
Super. Great. Well, that's great. That's great to hear.
Questions or comments based on what I just said? Sorry, I wasn't formally prepared to.
Okay, no, I just thought there was I thought there was going to be an answer, because I don't think I saw you around to that. So it's great for me to know. It's great for council to know that significant mitigation, though maybe not 100%, but it's pretty close.
And then I'll just add through the chair. I mean, this was looked at in 2017 in the initial design phase as well. So it's been a kind of a topic of conversation throughout before my time and throughout kind of the whole design.
Great.
Part of the program.
Okay, thank you very much. Just comments from council on this correspondence. Okay, seeing none, let's move on to item 8.3, 8.4, British Columbia Nonprofit Housing Association regarding Housing Central Conference. And we do have, of course, a draft motion to send Councillor McMaster. Councillor McMaster, comment on this one?
Well, I've been invited to participate in a panel, so that's why I'm going to go. So I would hope I get approved by council. I'll be sitting on this panel with the head of housing from Vancouver, somebody from housing in Squamish, and somebody from the First Nations. I'm not sure which First Nation it will be, but I suspect it's the Squamish First Nation.
Super. Great, it'll be great to have you there. Comments from council? I do have a draft motion here to send Councillor McMaster there with reimbursement. All right, well, I'll read that Councillor McMaster be authorized to attend the 2024 Housing Central Conference in Vancouver between November 18 and 20, 2024, and be reimbursed for costs in accordance with the District of Tofino Council Remuneration Bylaw number 1254, 2018. Seconded by Councillor Steer. Any comments? I hope you have a great time, Councillor McMaster. All in favor? None opposed, motion's carried. Okay, moving on to presentations and reports. We have 9.1 District of Tofino 2025-2028 tax exemption bylaw for first, second, and third reading.
Chair, Honorable Council. This evening, we're gonna look at the 2025-2028 draft of tax exemption bylaw. Quick overview of the material. We will have a look at the financial impact, followed by a background, a discussion on the draft bylaw and the communication that will be delivered for such bylaw. The financial impact of such bylaw will have an estimated value of 102,951 in 2025. In 2026, we see a 6% increase of that value to 109,132. Following year, 113, 497, a 4% increase. And 2028, a value of $118.37, a 4% increase. Those values are calculated based on the financial plan approved for the 2025-2028 last year, and they will be reviewed each year and are within the 2% value of the tax for that respective year. As a background, a permissive tax exemption bylaw or amendments to an existing bylaw must be adopted by October 31st of each year for exemptions to apply in the following taxation year. As per the community charter, a tax exemption bylaw can be in effect for a term of up to 10 years. However, the District of Tofino current policy limits exemptions to 4 years, after which time a property can reapply. Discussion is that staff be authorized to prepare a tax exemption bylaw for taxation year 2025 to 2028 that includes the properties as listed by below associated with such applicants. The communication that will be provided for such bylaw will be a notice given in accordance with section 94 of the community charter. Also, the notice will be published in Westerly News on September 12th as well as on September 18th. Actual tax exemptions for each year are included in the district's annual report. The recommendation is that District of Tofino 2025 to 2028 tax exemption bylaw number 1348 2024 be introduced and read a first, second, and third time. And that concludes the presentation.
Excellent, thank you very much. Just a quick question, see if there are any questions for clarity from council. Further quick question, any comments from council before we read this motion? Seeing none, would somebody like to volunteer to read the motion? From council.
I'll move that the District of Tofino 2025 through 2028 tax exemption bylaw number 1348 2024 be introduced and read first, second, and third time.
Second.
Second by Councillor Thomas. Any further comments from council? Seeing none, all in favor? Unopposed, motion is carried. Excellent, thank you very much. Moving on to item 9.2, license of occupation, Connected Coast. We have a short report, I'm sure, from corporate services.
Hello, good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Ian, I'm the manager of legislative services. Tonight I will be presenting a short report from me on the Connected Coast license of occupation. Quick background and agenda here. The purpose of tonight's report is to update council on the Connected Coast project, the proposed lease agreement, and next steps to be actioned by staff. Background on the Connected Coast project is a project federally and provincially funded program, including funding from Indigenous Services Canada. And the project works to install a network of subsea fiber optic cable to provide high-speed internet access to 175,000 British Columbians. Many of those in remote Indigenous communities where land-based access is challenging. So here in the map, the green sections are part of the network of cable that is already active in service. The blue segments indicates cable that have been installed but not yet connected, and red indicates permits that have been established but not yet installed. The Connected Coast project is a joint venture between two local governments, the Strathcona Regional District and the City of Prince Rupert, and all profits are required by bylaw to be reinvested in the project. For the local context here, council may remember at the January 24th, 2023 council meeting, Connected Coast presented as a delegation to provide background and their intentions on servicing the local area. At that meeting, council was assured by staff that a report would be returned to them and be presented to council for further updates. Since that time, staff have been working with the Connected Coast project team to determine the appropriate subsea pathway for cabling and a landing location in Tofino. Connected Coast has also engaged with neighboring First Nations to lay subsea cabling through Tla-o-qui-aht Sound, as seen in the diagram here, ready to be connected to Tofino. The communities shown on the map have been connected by cable, but the service connection is not yet active. So the landing location, the remaining portion in red here is set to be complete. We will complete this network connection by laying subsea cable from a Pitsit and Floatgrove territory, Duffin Cove, in Tofino, where it will connect to a utility pole within the District of Tofino for service connection. Connected Coast have engaged with the Tla-o-qui-aht First Nation to agree upon a subsea pathway for the cable installation and landing location at Pitsit, and a letter of support has been issued by the First Nation for the project. Connected Coast have also engaged with district staff here present tonight to determine an appropriate landing location at Duffin Cove, ensuring the new sewer outflow is not impacted. The province, Tla-o-qui-aht First Nation, and district staff were all involved in consultations and considered multiple pathways and landing locations to determine a subsea cable pathway between the two communities to limit impacts on eelgrass, marine life habitat, and high marine traffic areas. And the cabling will land at Duffin Cove and laid adjacent to the sewer outflow, following the conveyance system to land to terminate at a hydro pole near Cedar Street, as presented in the diagram. So the municipal authority begins at the landing location at Duffin Cove, where the cabling will be laid and requires a license of occupation to proceed. Section 94 of the Community Charter requires municipalities to post notice when disposing of land. However, in this case, this is a non-exclusive license to occupy, and it is not defined as an interest in land, and therefore a notice of disposition is not required. A 5-year term is proposed, as this is a new project and a new relationship for the district, and a $10 nominal per year fee is proposed, so that the district is within its rights to review the annual fee in advance of the 5-year term and consider negotiations. The CEO has been delegated the authority to execute this license of occupation and proceed with the agreement attached in the staff report. With that, I leave the recommendation for you and happy to answer any questions from council.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. McCall. I suppose they're happy the wastewater treatment plant is working.
Yes.
Before they lay the cake. Comments from, questions from council? Seeing none. Comments from council? Seeing none. Would somebody like to read this recommendation?
Council received a report titled License of Occupation Connected Coast dated September 10th, 2024 for information.
Thanks by Councillor Thomas. No other comments all in favor? None opposed, motions carry. Excellent. Be great for those communities. Moving on to item 9.3, 4th and Gibson Street Water Main Replacement and Pedestrian Improvement Contract Award. Report. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor Law, leading Mayor and Council. I'm up here to present the 4th and Gibson Street Water Main Replacement and Pedestrian Improvements Tender Award. With that, I'll start with the project background. Okay, so the project background, the existing site conditions don't have a sidewalk to connect the Wickennish Community School along 4th Street to Campbell Street. The lack of this existing sidewalk is a bit of a public safety concern along 4th Street, and this is due to limited visibility on a shared roadway. There is also an existing AC, which is asbestos cement water main that runs along Gibson Street and 4th Street, and this has reached the end of its service life. These are actually installed in the 1960s as part of the district's original water infrastructure. Several isolation valves along the stretch are also no longer functional to isolate the existing mains which run along these streets. More water services are impacted due to the greater length of a line between the functional valve. Project design for the sidewalk will include a 1.5 meter wide sidewalk which runs along 4th Street from Gibson to tie into the existing on Malone Lane. There'll be a drop down curb with ramps and a painted crosswalk for improved accessibility and visibility. The drainage improvements will be done through adjusted catch basins, curbs and slopes. This will convey stormwater a bit more effectively down 4th Street. And the existing floral features will be relocated and reused in the public right of way. District staff will also coordinate the plant handling and relocation with the contractor on this job. So the project design for the water main, which runs along 4th Street and Gibson Street, will be to replace the existing aged AC main with the new 8-inch PVC. This new main will include new services, replacement of services with new boxes and setters. It will also include the replacement of 2 existing fire hydrants from the 1980s, which are adjacent to the school. And these hydrants are known to be difficult to operate because they're quite stiff and coming to the end of their service life. There'll also be the new valves and water main flushing connection. So this went out to tender on July 19th and tender closed on August 7th. The lowest bid was Sprout Lake Contracting, which came in at $987,000 plus GST. The tender values have increased from the original budget, and these were primarily due to the following factors. The first of which is economic changes. The initial cost estimates in 2022 have increased due to construction costs. This is approximately 12% from the builder's construction price index. Project scope alterations have also been included. This includes the hydrants that were identified that need to be replaced. Additional meter boxes that might need to be readjusted and instrumentation to be replaced, which is aged inside those meter boxes. And the landscaping and relocation of the plantings along 204th Street. These were identified in public consultation as areas of the community that like to be protected. We also quantified risk value for unforeseen ground conditions. This is encountering rocks and soft soils like volcanics in the trench work. So the financial impacts of the tender. We did budget the original project funding with its sources in table 1. The Gibson Street portion of the water main was solely funded from DCCs. This was at the amount of $250,000. As the revised funding source, as the figures in the funding sources were revised after tender pricing came in, and we increased the DCC funding along the Gibson Street side of the project to the full $330,000 allotted in that DCC project. Additional CNI levy water funding is proposed for $153,146.64 to make up that difference for the Gibson Street water main. The DCC roads funding along 4th stayed the same, $115K, and the CNI water for 4th Street did increase it a little bit, just a hair over 1,000. And then the CNI levy for the roads portion actually decreased by about $84,000 or so, and that's because of competitive pricing for the sidewalk portion. So the total net project budget has increased by $150,000 and $150,460. And this is broken down to the tender award outline for $987,000, the contract admin services and engineering, and a 10% contingency to ensure successful project completion. So I'll leave the recommendation up for council to read. There are 3 options which we could proceed with.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to open it up to council for a round of questions for clarity from staff. Council wish. Council Chair.
A question around, and it might be to the Director of Corporate Services. In the budget outline, it's a contingency of 10%, roughly $106,000. I'm just curious, and I should know this, but I'm just curious if for some reason we don't need that contingency, the budget allocation, that extra $106,000, where does it go?
Through the chair, is that to Director of Corporate Services?
He probably would be the one who most likely would know.
Depending on how the expense will incur, if that value will not be spent, it will be a decision on which one of the listed funding sources will not incur that the specific value.
Thank you.
Other questions? Councilor McMahon.
You just go back to your map and just show us where the crosswalks are going to be added at the time.
The presentation back up. There'll be a crosswalk. Through the chair, there'll be a crosswalk. So there'll be a crosswalk at 4th Street and Gibson Street, painted crosswalk across 4th. There is the existing crosswalk across Gibson. There'll also be one at at Neil Street, just below there. And those are the three areas of crossing between the east and the west side of 4th Street.
Is there a plan to have flashing lights or anything on these crosswalks?
At this time, through the chair, at this time, there isn't any plans for any lights to be installed.
Question, go ahead, Councillor Sloman.
Perhaps I missed it, sorry, but I'm just trying to figure out where the landscaping items that were identified as concerns on the Tla-o-qui-aht side, where they will be going, if we know that at this time.
Yeah, so through the chair, the landscaping items that were along, I believe, 200 4th Street, those would be carefully relocated with district staff. Plants will be identified that will need to be removed, and those will be transported with protective root wrap and stored in a cooled area and watered by district staff until a plan can be put in place to relocate them within the public right of way in the municipality, most likely within the downtown core.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Any other questions, comments from council? We have some options presented before us. I don't see any objection. I don't hear any objection from moving forward from council fully on this. I don't think it's going to be any cheaper the longer we wait. And I do want to just commend staff, even though you know, with increased costs over time, it's great to see that some competitive pricing has brought some of the product down. So thanks for that. That's often gets lost, but I know you guys do a really great job and have the community's best interests always at the forefront. So
I did have one quick,
Councillor,
thank you. I didn't see in the report or whatever, if this goes forward, which I think we will be, what is the mobilization date for commencement of this project?
So through the chair, so once we award the contract to the contractor, there'll be a period of bonding and gathering contract documents. The contractor has indicated that they are ready to mobilize as soon as possible, in a timely manner as those documents are processed. So
I see it now in the report.
you read the report.
I read the report, yeah. I just missed it.
Councillor Sawyer.
I just have a comment regarding the options. I feel we all probably agree with is that option one is favorable, just because, as Councillor McMaster said, these things never get cheaper, and as we all know and have heard, the sidewalks are sorely lacking and really will be needed, especially with the new dates.
Yeah, absolutely great. And it was good to see, I did notice that there was changes with public feedback, so that's great to see. Thanks. Thanks for that. Okay, well, I hear what I hear is the council would like to go for option one. So if there are no objections, would a councillor like to recommend reading option one?
Hello.
Go ahead.
I move that 4th and Gibson Street water main replacement and pedestrian improvements construction contract be awarded to Sprout Lake Contracting Limited based on the tendered price of $987,000 plus GST, and that the 4th and Gibson Street water main.
There's two recommendations. We'll go for that one first.
Okay, I'll second.
Councillor Thomas, second. All in favor? None opposed, motion carried. Carry on.
And that the 4th and Gibson Street water main replacement and pedestrian improvement project budget increase from $1,025,000 to $1,175,000 for. I'm just gonna number it 1175460.00.
And that.
The 2024-2028 financial plan bylaw be amended to update the project funding to 529,226.05 from the capital and infrastructure levy water to 201,233.95 from the capital and infrastructure levy roads and 330,000.00 from development cost charge water and 115,000.00 from development cost charge roads.
Seconded by Councillor Thomas. Any further comments from council? All in favor? None opposed. Motion's carried, and I do want to say thank you to staff and all councillors, past and present, who worked to support the infrastructure levy. Allows us to do this work. Okay, moving on, no unfinished business. Do we have any business initiated by council members? Councillor Keir.
Yes, I have a few. Started with the West Coast Committee meeting last week. We had a couple of great presentations, some very good news. Seth Wright, Senior Manager of Government Relations for BC Transit, gave us an update on when the new BC Transit service is going to be commencing, and that will be in March of 2025. So that's good news. BC Transit will now be taking over that service. Thank the great work of the ACRD staff who put together the interim service. It went incredibly well, and I couldn't thank them enough. That service will be seasonally adjusted, but the times will be from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. There'll be 16 to 18 round trips per day. There are 2 brand new vehicles, 18-seat passenger vehicles that will be for the project. And I think that is it. So great news all the way around there. Another great piece of news is and I love the name, the Sort and Grow out at the landfill. So as you may remember, it's related to our organics processing ability out there. And just to give you an idea of what and how much, 312 tons of curbside collection has been diverted, and that was in 2023, and then 324 tons of yard waste. So an incredible amount of material has been diverted from that landfill. This is now Class A compost. Another little piece on there. So part of that waste diversion projects that we've been doing out there was a pilot project with Ocean Legacy. So that's all the waste that they collect from the ocean. A lot of that is from aquaculture, ropes and nets. And that has been recycled into plastic buckets. And so as part of the, you'll be able to buy that compost and you'll be able to buy those plastic buckets. That's that circular economy coming right into effect. So for $20, you can get those 20-liter pails. And then if you want to buy in tonnage, it's $50 a yard for that compost. So great news once again, and that's going to start mid-September. Coming to a landfill near you. And last, there was also a presentation, and you're all familiar with the Multiplex Society. They presented to the committee. We're all familiar with Samantha and 2 of her board members, Carrie Ho and Alex Masso, presented. And there was a small request that will go to the ACRD board, and a bit of budget request in terms of some administrative funds to be released for some administrative support there. So that'll go to the board of directors and through the financial planning process. And then there was a meeting yesterday of the BC Municipal Climate Leadership Council, of which I'm a member of. Minister Osborne was one of our key speakers there to give us an update in a community exchange. There's about 35 different regional districts and municipalities that we sit on that BC Municipal Climate Leadership. She pretty much clearly reiterated the BC Clean Energy Strategy, powering our future. And was getting feedback from municipalities and regional districts in our input into that strategy. So it was broke up into roundtables. We were able to get input and feedback. Those discussions will be continuing at UBCM. So an incredibly productive meeting around some of our energy requirements. There was a big shout out. We gave a shout out to our wastewater treatment plant and the work we did with BC Hydro. We know that that type of relationship is critically important to municipalities, and so the upgrading of that grid, which allowed, and that great relationship that our staff in BC Hydro has to really create the ability to get that project moving. So that was a big shout out that I was able to give to there, and Minister Osborne supported as well. And then last was we had a Recreation Advisory Committee. There was once again a presentation from name now, and I was gonna write it down. But you guys are familiar with the presentation on our Parks and Rec master plan. So that was presented to the Rec Advisory Committee. There's also a great report from staff, Kelsey Wallace, on the SMILE program, the support, meals, improving lives for elders, and it's an incredible program, and you couldn't believe the enthusiasm of staff, and it's highly supported. I could go into great detail, but I'll let you guys read the minutes of that. And then Ben gave another great report on a very successful summer program. Was, I think he said, somewhere in the range of 90% filled. Some of those programs have been filled year over year. So once again, incredible amount of participation and success, and big smiles from staff once again. And just another note on the fall winter programming, once again, almost completely sold out. The diversity of programs that we have is really phenomenal, and they're supported mostly by volunteers, a few contractors out there. But once again, staff are incredibly enthusiastic about the response. Many of those programs were sold out within minutes of it going online. So once again, great success from our rec department. And that is about it.
Super. Thank you. Any comments, any new business from the rest of council? Seeing none. Excellent. Great to hear. Moving on to question period, item 10. Ms. Peltier.
Thank you, Mayor Law. I will now make an open call for questions to both members of the public present in the gallery and those attending online. For those in the gallery who wish to speak, please raise your hand. If there is anyone attending online via Zoom that would like to ask a question, you can do so now using the Q&A function. Before asking a question, you will need to state your name, your address, and the agenda item you are speaking to. I will now do a call, calling once, calling twice, calling 3 times. There are no questions at this time.
Thank you very much. Then we will move into the closed session.
Okay.
Excellent.
I move that the meeting be closed to the public pursuant to sections 91A, C, I, K, and 92B of the Community Charter to discuss matters relating to personal information about an individual who holds or is being considered for a position as an officer, employee, or agent, employee relations, information that is prohibited, or information that would, if it were presented in a document, would be prohibited from disclosure under section 21 of the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act, negotiations and related discussions respecting the proposed provision of a municipal service that are at their preliminary stages, and that in the view of the council could reasonably be expected to harm the interests of the municipality if they're held in public, and the consideration of information received and held in confidence relating to negotiations between the municipality and the provincial government or the federal government or both, or between a provincial government or the federal government or both and a third party.
Second by Councillor Anderson. All in favor? None opposed, motion is carried. We're going to move into close. We'll take a little 5-minute break.